The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Of course, I'm your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Commanders Camp Daily. We're going to give you daily updates on Washington Commanders training camp. Today was day one. The rookies had been out there the previous 3 days, and there was a conditioning test to check all the players yesterday to kind of make sure that everybody was ready to go today. Today was an abbreviated practice. Don't want to just jump into a 2-hour practice. They're going to ramp these guys up. So 60 minutes today, just an hour. Everybody was very lively out there. I think it was actually 90 minutes today. And they're going to continue to amp it up as they go, and then eventually get to those 2-hour practices and so forth. So what were observations? And this is what you're going to get from me: news, notes, and observations from training camp. And the first observation that I was able to make, and this goes back to yesterday. Ron spoke yesterday and today. You can't tell me, and I've been saying this all offseason, and I don't know, it could have been falling on deaf ears. I can't say if it has or hasn't, but I've been adamant about Ron's relaxed nature. You know, you could see the stress off of his face. He looks relieved. He looks at peace. Ron looks like a guy that, and he said it yesterday, like, I felt like a manager, you know, instead of a football coach. But this is what, and I wanted to feel bad for him because he didn't understand what he was getting himself into. But you came here and you took the coach-centric title that they gave you. Ron allowed Daniel Snyder to tell him that this was a coach-centric approach. He said it in the Happy Thanksgiving press conference. This is a coach-centric, which means that Dan gets to take a back seat, put all of his shit on your plate, and you got to deal with it. Eat up. So as much as I want to feel bad for Ron, he should have known what he was signing up for. Apparently he didn't. However, once he got here and he got into this mess, I started to feel bad for him because you could see the stress. You could feel it sometimes in some of these pressers. You could cut it with a knife. And Ron is as comfortable, relaxed, and stress-free as we've seen him since he's gotten here. So that's the first thing that I noticed. But I've been talking about that all offseason. But you can tell there's a difference. And even Ron has admitted it. Players have admitted it. They know, you know, they're gonna pull the card, especially the players. And some of this is true. They're really not affected by what ownership does. You know, the only way that kind of seeps into the locker room is when they get asked about things, or the ownership group did something stupid, like when Dan Snyder's attorney drug Brian Robinson's situation into a whole conversation that he had nothing to do with. That's when the shit gets back to the players and they feel some type of way, you know. But for the most part, they don't really see it. They're not affected. The only way that they're truly impacted is when we don't show up for games and the other team's fan base infiltrates the stadium, and they can feel that. They know. They hear the fans for the other team chanting and doing things of that nature. So, you know, they want more from the fans. Put a better product on the field and you'll get us. You know, what's been so funny listening to these players is because they have no idea. They don't know how rabid of a fan base this really, truly is, and what it could truly be if they produce a winner especially now that even in the face of Dan Snyder and the Black Cloud, the fans showed up in 12, the fans showed up in 15, and they would have showed up in 2020 if they were allowed to, which they weren't. Okay? You win, and I get it. It was 7-9. Fans would have showed up to a playoff game against Tom Brady. You win here, and the fans get behind you. And now that there's no Daniel Snyder as a barrier in between fans who didn't want anything to do with the organization because of him and the team, there is no barrier. Now the only barrier is the name. And sorry for those of you who wanted to go back to Redskins. Not happening. Sorry. For those of you who want it changed, it may change. I think it's going to change. But that's not a now problem. That's a down the road problem. But that's the only barrier. And if that's the only barrier, you're going to be just fine if you win. If you win. Okay? So that was another observation. A lot of players speaking about the situation and just the energy level being different. Of course it's different. We're free. Of course it's different. So I took notes. So you'll see me looking at my notes from the day. So the first thing I want to talk about was Ron's demeanor and just his overall appearance. He just looks like a different guy, sounds like a different guy. Let's see if he is a different guy. Let's see if he coaches better. Now that he doesn't have to feel like a manager anymore. Now that he can actually be a head coach. Let's see if we get a different result on the field. That's what matters most, right? Ron talked about a number of different topics. Let's start with the crispness of practice. He said this was a phenomenal day, number one. Now, they didn't put too much on their plate. And you know what? I think also kind of made it a seamless transition too, was the fact that they brought the rookies in 3 days earlier and let them get acclimated. And Ron talked about that at the presser today, how they wanted to do this in the past, and they ran into a snag during COVID, and they never really rebounded from that. This is the first opportunity that they've really, truly had to have their rookies come in early and be productive so that they would already be up to speed when the veterans who are already up to speed get here. That learning curve doesn't have to be as slow, and you're not slowing anybody else down because you want your rookies in there. You want your young guys in there getting reps. And you want them to be able to play up to speed. You don't want them holding back the first team offense or the first team defense. And so in order to have that happen, you get those guys in there early. Ron made it a point of emphasis to say, hey, our first and second round picks are both defensive players that we're going to get on the field early and often. So we needed those guys here, right? A lot of younger players, you know, that are going to be coming into the mix that we'd love to see be up to speed. But in particular, those first 2 draft picks this year, they're on the defensive side of football. We're going to ask them to play immediately. So wanted those guys to be here early as well. So he talked about how crisp practice was, and he was really impressed with the defense. And he said the defense picked right up where they left off a season ago. And I'm thinking, damn right they should. This is year 4 of Jack Del Rio's defense, not year 1 of EB's offense, year 4. They should be light years ahead of the offense. This is the conversation that we should be hearing from them for much of the camp season and into the preseason, is that the defense is ahead of the offense. I wouldn't expect anything less. If it doesn't happen that way, I'd actually be disappointed because, again, this unit has been together for 4 seasons. There's a piece here and a piece there that may be different, but for the most part, this group has been together for 4 years. It's the same scheme. So they should be faster. They shouldn't be thinking a lot. They should be able to go out and play. So not surprised that Ron said that, and I'm actually glad to hear it. He was asked about the quarterbacks. Obviously, that's going to be a topic of conversation throughout camp into the preseason. And he said, you know, both guys look good. He didn't say this, but I read it elsewhere from one beat reporter in particular that said Sam was particularly sharp today, razor sharp. We'll get to Sam in a little bit. And again, you know, Ron is giving off the appearance that this is a real competition, as he should. I don't have any issues with that. But And I love it because of some of the things Sam said, and we'll get to that in a second. But I've already told you why Ron is going to conduct himself in that manner. You go back to 2019, Dwayne getting drafted, having a good end to his season in 19. Ron gets here in 20, gets the job probably just like Jay did back in 2014, telling the owner, hey, I can fix this quarterback, or at least I'll give him an opportunity. So he makes good on that promise, gives Dwayne he gives him the job. He doesn't earn it. He gives it to him. And Dwayne clearly was not ready for that responsibility. So anyway, may he rest in peace. He doesn't want to do that again. And he swore that he wouldn't do that again. And he hasn't since, even though the Ryan Fitzpatrick, season with Taylor Heineke was not much of a quarterback battle at all. He still pushed it off as one. But we all knew the answer there. And we know the answer this year. Anyway, Ron also spoke about Chase taking off the knee brace. Logan Thomas took his off as well. So you're seeing guys, and I've told you guys this. This is why I felt bad about Chase's injury. I feel a little bit better about it, knowing that he really didn't play last year. You're not yourself from a major injury, and Chase's wasn't a normal ACL. Like I have to keep reiterating that. He did a lot of shit to your knee that isn't supposed to happen at once. Okay? So just understand, you're not supposed to tear your ACL and blow out your patella tendon at the same time. Those two injuries don't go together. But Chase did that. Okay? So he wasn't just coming back from a normal knee injury. He was coming back from like almost total knee reconstruction, it felt like. There's a lot going on in there. So you're not yourself when you have those types of injuries, especially an Achilles. You're not yourself for over a year. So Chase pretty much having that whole year last year to heal, playing on the back end to kind of gain the confidence that I can go out there and my knee won't, give out on me, was good for his psyche. And now he's even healthier now. So, Logan kind of same boat, right? He didn't remember, we heard, and Logan even said this, Ron reiterated over the off. Logan wasn't right until the second Eagles game. That's week 10 of the season. So, and he still was, even when that's when he started to feel more like himself, he still wasn't 100%. So both of those guys shedding the knee brace, that is a big, big deal. All right. That's a big sign that those guys are feeling really good. So I'm hoping that Logan has a big year. We're going to need it from the tight end position. Same with Chase at defensive end. So that was good to hear. And so now we go to Sam, who we heard from at the podium today. Sam was sharp today. Sharp and very accurate, short to intermediate. Hit a couple of deep balls as well. Really good start for him to camp. He was asked about the offense and the RPO nature of it and how there's more of it this year than it was last year with Scott Turner. And he said that's right in my wheelhouse. Pretty much our entire offense in college was RPO based. So I'm very comfortable in that setting. Eric Bieniemy's offense is a lot of RPO, a lot more than it was under Scott Turner. And so obviously that makes me way more comfortable. And I think you can do so many things off the run game. He talked about off of RPO, and he's like, your job as the quarterback is to make the defense wrong. And so I excel at that. And so it was good to hear him talk about his comfort level in the offense and how these RPOs can really impact us moving forward. This is the thing that I love, and this is piggybacking off of Ron not declaring a starter, heading into camp, but, whether, more so saying that just like with the left guard position, there is a player with the leg up. Sam is going into camp with a leg up on the competition. It's his job to keep it that way and maintain distance. Same with Sadiq Charles at left guard. But, Ron is complimenting both quarterbacks. And he's not singling out Sam had a strong day and not mentioning. If he mentions Sam, he usually mentions Jacoby and vice versa, right? He does that intentionally because he doesn't want everyone to get the this feeling that he's leaning one way or the other. So Sam, in response to that, because someone pretty much crowned Sam, which we all know, the media knows, we know as fans, we know what's up, right? He pretty much said, hey, no, you the starter. How does it feel to be the starter going into this season, dealing with what you dealt with last year and, all of the things, how does it feel to be going into camp as the starter? And he's like, feels good, knowing where I was last year on the depth chart, coming in, having the draft go the way that it did, and, kind of having to sit and be the third string quarterback and, never really getting a chance to play until the end of the season. I'm not taking this opportunity for granted nor lightly. And there's a lot of work to be done. I'm not there yet. It's still a lot of work to be done. And so I'm just trying to get better every single day, So that's what you want to hear, man. Like, he gets it. Like, I'm not technically the starter yet. It has not been announced. The team has not been told that we're rolling with Sam yet. I got to go out here and I got to earn it. He said, I got to go out here and I got to earn it. That's what Ron wants to hear. And that's the mindset and the approach that he should be taking. So that was great to hear. He elaborated on the workout. He put it together, showing that leadership, right? He put the workout together that was out in Fort Lauderdale that I talked about on the last stream that, you've seen out there. You've seen videos of it. Diami had a lot of it on his video, right, that he had on his channel. And Sam put that together. And you heard them talking on the video. You heard them talking about dinner. And he's like, hey, some people got to get out of here early tomorrow morning, which was Terry and B-Rob. But he was like, hey, let's get this work in today. We'll go to dinner tonight. Some people got to get out of here tomorrow early in the morning. And the rest of us will come back in here and get more work in. So it was 3 days. They went to dinner every night, just building that camaraderie, man, getting these players together and unifying everybody, but also letting them know I'm that guy, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to lead the way. And so I love it. I love him taking ownership of this position and showing that leadership and rallying the troops. I mean, you want these guys to be behind you 110%. And gestures like that are a huge way of showing that. And that's a step in the right direction. So Sam made a joke today. How about that? Sam made funny today. So he made a funny. So one of the things that the media, and I could have slapped whoever said this when they said it. He said something to the effect of, Sam's boring. And I want to say it's my dude from Richmond that I think he just got let go. And he was actually a really good reporter. But I was like, bro, really? Sam's really boring, and I forgot who they were asking the question to, and that person was like, what? Like, dude, he's our quarterback. Like, we don't care nothing about that shit. Anyway, that's the narrative, that Sam's, dry, doesn't have much of a sense of humor. He's really serious. So one of the things you can tell when someone gets comfortable when they're not comfortable initially, like Da'Ron Payne is getting comfortable with the media. We can tell because there's more smiles. The answers are longer. He still doesn't want to do these hits, right? He still doesn't want to do these press hits, but he's getting more comfortable, doing them. Same thing with Montez Sweat. Doesn't want to do them, but he's getting more and more comfortable doing them, right? So you can tell when guys start to smile more, the answers get a little bit longer. And Sam was never uncomfortable. He just I'm not like, that's not my personality to be joking around all the time with y'all. He probably does it with his teammates all the time. But he made a joke about the guy that asked him a question had on a Carolina blue shirt. The guy next to him had more of a Duke type color shirt on. So he's like, I like your shirt color opposed to the guy that's sitting next to you. And Sam was laughing about that. So, a lot of these players, these pro players are really, especially NFL. I find it to be the NFL more than any other sport. These guys are very loyal to their collegiate programs. They'll talk more about college than they do the NFL. And I think because in the NFL, it could change like that. You could be traded You could end up playing for 4 different teams in your career. So that level of loyalty doesn't exist like it does in college, where this is the program that put you on the map, that gave you an opportunity. Some of the best years, if you've gone to college, you know, some of the best years of your life happen in college. So a lot of these guys are forever grateful for the program, giving them an opportunity to show their skills, to get them to the NFL, and they bleed these programs. So you'll hear Montez Sweat. He's got a tattoo of Mississippi State Bulldog on his arm, right? Like, you hear these guys, they're not getting a tattoo of Washington, right? Because they could be traded tomorrow. They could not finish their career here. Whereas they know, I graduated from this particular school. I went to this school. So there's a level of loyalty there that exists. And Sam is Carolina blue through and through. So I'm pretty sure we would share a chuckle, because I'm a Duke Blue Devils fan in basketball only, not football. But we would share a chuckle there because he's Carolina through and through. So he made a joke today. He made a funny, and it was funny. It was good to see him laugh. It's all smiles right now, man. Everybody, this energy right now from being free, it's infectious. And everybody's got a little bit of it going on right now, man. It'll wear off eventually. As Ron said, look, shit was clean today. Everybody was happy, upbeat. Talk to me in 3 or 4 days. Look, we about to go through an extreme heat wave. If you go on a training camp tomorrow, good luck. It's going to be 98 degrees. Might even be hotter up north. Where I am, it's going to be 98 degrees now. They're going in the morning where it'll be a little bit, less humid. But if it's going to be 98, it's going to be 92 degrees by 10 o'clock. So it's going to be hot. Drink plenty of fluids. Bring some water with you, because it's going to be hot out there. And it's going to be 97 the day after that, and 98 again the day after that. So if you're going out to training camp, prepare yourself. It's going to be hot. All right. And Ryan's like, yeah, shit's all nice and sweet right now. Wait till these practices get longer. Wait till these shits get hotter, which is coming. And they've been leaning it. Wait till we put these pads on. They start hitting each other. Shit's going to sound a lot different then. Then you get into the dog days of summer, and you get into the dog days of camp, where they like, all right, man, I'm sick of this shit when we get to the games. But right now, everybody's excited, man. Just take it all in. Take it all in. So Sam also talked about the naysayers. He was asked about, outside of the fan base, nobody believes. We know that. We've been talking about it all off season. You know what it is. New Howell order. Y'all know what it is, right? Everybody outside the fan base, for the most part, is laughing at us. I'm laughing at you. I'm laughing at you now. They think it's funny. We told them Sam Howell's our quarterback. We were scared to crack a smile. Ha, 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 ha. I ain't scared, though. We're going to be laughing at them after Sam put this ass whooping on them. But in the meantime, Sam's like, I get it. Barely played in the NFL. 5th round draft pick. I get it. I understand it. But I ain't worried about none of that. I'm worried about what the people in this building think and what I think in my mind, and that's all I care about. Well, don't worry, Sam. We got your back, bro. We going to hold you down as well. And then he was also asked a really intelligent question, one that I love this answer, because I agree, because I talked about this on the podcast yesterday. Justin Fields was approached by, Peyton Manning and his group about potentially being on the quarterback series this year. Remember, they've been renewed for a season 2. And it was highly successful. Sam said he watched it. It was great to see all of those quarterbacks in their processes and how they go about their business. And he said, maybe down the road I would be open to it. But right now, and this is the right answer. Same thing Justin Fields said, like, it's a distraction right now. I'm trying to, like, all 3 of those quarterbacks that they featured on the show have established themselves as NFL quarterbacks, again, at different levels. Marcus Mariota is a backup quarterback, fringe starter, but more of a backup at this point. Now he's in Philadelphia as a backup quarterback, right? But he's established. He's not going to be out of the league in 2 years because he can't play, right? He's already established himself, been in the league many years, has a routine and a regimen, so you can allow cameras to follow you. Same with Kirk Cousins, same with Patrick Mahomes. You're talking about Justin Fields, who's going into year 3 of his career, and this is the first real year that he's had true backing from the organization. They went out and got him all these weapons. They traded for DJ Moore and all this stuff. This is a big year for him. This is a make or break year, really, for Justin Fields, right? Because if you suck this year and you end up with a high draft pick like you did last year, they may not trade it away this time. Same thing can be said for Sam Howell. Make or break season for you. Because if Ron gets fired and Martin Mayhew is gone and Marty Herney is gone, you may not be starting here next year. Even if you had a solid season, the next coach might not believe in you. The next GM probably won't believe in you the way they did. So you know what you got to do. And you can't afford cameras following you around and that distraction right now. You need to solidify your NFL career first. And he pretty much said some things along those lines, like, yeah, it's not the right time. I'm really focused on what we got going on in this building and what I got to do. And so he said maybe down the road, but right now, not a good look. So, and that's the right answer. That's totally the right answer. So, we heard from Antonio Gibson today. Gibby looks refreshed. He looks to be in tremendous shape. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I think this has a chance to be a really big year for him. I remember last year, him cutting weight, really getting the body fat down, being in tremendous shape. He looks to be even better shape this year. He elaborated on his role, and listening to him talk about his role gave me clarity as to what the running back roles will be for this upcoming season if everything kind of stays in place as is right now. So Antonio Gibson said, my role is going to be the J.D. McKissick role from past years, where I'm in on third downs. I'm in end of half situations. So right before halftime, end of the game, when you're going hurry up, when you're going no huddle, Gibson's going to be in the game, as J.D. McKissick was always in the game in those situations. And then, they would sprinkle in J.D. every so often on a first and second down. Gibson will be sprinkled in there on some first and second down situations as well. Sometimes, especially if they want to throw the football, he'll be sprinkled in there as well. And so that's a great role for him. He's like, I know I can do more, but if that's the role they want to put me in, I'm looking to excel at that. I think he's going to have some success in that role, in the screen game, getting the ball out in space. These are things that just if you want to kind of envision what role he'll play, think about Jerick McKinnon with the Chiefs the last 2 years and how impactful he's been and how often he's impacted football games out there as a third down back. Think about his role in Kansas City, and that's what Antonio Gibson should be in this offense. If you are looking for a way to kind of rationalize it in your brain and make it make sense, that's what you should be thinking about. Gibson also spoke about returning kickoffs, and he said, look, I don't really know yet. We haven't kind of clearly defined that role for me. As of right now, I think I'm still doing it, but I think ultimately they want somebody else doing that. And I think he knows it too, but they haven't said anything to him about it. But JD, they're not going to allow him to go back there and return kickoffs, I don't think. That's why you bring in a Byron Pringle. That's why you look to try to solidify a kick returner and a punt returner, because you want somebody to take that off of his plate. If we get to a point in the season where we need someone to do that and we don't have anybody, then they know they can put him back there. But I don't think they're going to start the season out that way. But we'll see. But he said that role hasn't been clearly defined for him. But in him saying that he's the third down back, which is what we envisioned for him, but we couldn't be 100% sure this is the way they were going to utilize him. So many of you have had questions about C-Rod and how he was going to be used, right? I think we got our answer today. If we're taking Antonio Gibson at face value and his role as the third down back in that J.D. McKissick role, then we have to assume Brian Robinson's your starting running back, which we all know. He's your first and second down back. And then Chris Rodriguez is the primary backup to him on first and second downs. So if they think that B-Rob needs a blow or, he gets dinged on a play and needs to come out, it probably won't be Antonio Gibson. Remember, they were reluctant to remove J.D. McKissick from that third down role. So they would just insert somebody else in like Jonathan Williams and keep him, or even if you're going even further back to the beginning, the first iteration of Scott Turner and Ron Rivera, they would put in Peyton Barber, right? When anything would happen at the running back position from an injury perspective, when Antonio Gibson would get banged up or they didn't trust him, they put Peyton Barber in. All right. So they rarely move JD from that third down back. Like, we don't want to touch you. We got another guy for that. Assume that Chris Rodriguez is that backup. So if anything happens to B-Rob, don't assume that Antonio Gibson is going to slide into the starting running back role. Chris Rodriguez is probably going to start at running back. Gibson might take a lion's share of the carries, but he's still going to be handling a lot of that third down stuff. And I think you're going to see Chris Rodriguez slide into that. If he's mentally there, checked in, and they feel confident that he could be on the field and not make mistakes, he'll be your backup running back. So a lot of you have been asking me, what do I think his role is going to be? Someone even asked me that, I think as late as yesterday, maybe the day before. His role's going to be bigger now. After hearing him talk, Antonio Gibson talk, the role is bigger. Now, that's assuming that they want to get the young fella in the game and they're not just feeding B-Rob and he's not just eating and eating good. Because if B-Rob is going off, C-Rod shouldn't see the field, theoretically speaking. He's healthy and he's eating and eating good, 5.5, 6 yards a pop. There's no reason for Chris Rodriguez to get in and get some. So the thought process is they're going to work Chris Rodriguez into the lineup. They're going to get him some touches. And he's the primary backup, so he should see the field every single game. Theoretically speaking, that is, if Antonio Gibson is going to play this J.D. McKissic role. So that kind of gave me a little bit of clarity as to what to expect from the running back position, because I wasn't 100% sure. I was leaning in that direction, but I wasn't sure. That gave us the clarity that I think we needed as far as going into the training camp period, and we'll see what happens moving forward. Da'Ron Payne does have a minor toe injury. He's listed as day-to-day. Now, I don't consider anything with your toe to be minor, especially if it's your big toe. So what I want them to do is not rush him back to get on the field, because a toe can linger. And what we don't want is a little toe to become a big toe, to become a major problem that lingers all year long. Okay, so let him heal up. This is what practice. Da'Ron isn't missing any snaps. Trust me, he's rearing to go. We know what he's capable of. You know, let the young man, let the young boys have it. Let him get healthy, and then when he's ready, go back out there. We don't need to be nursing injuries this soon into the game. So minor toe, don't worry about it. It's minor now. It can become major if they don't handle it correctly. And we don't know the severity. He could have just jammed it, sprained it a little bit. You know, turf toe is no joke if you've ever had it. It's not a game. Jamin Davis spoke today. He's just happy to be back. So remember, Jamin was out of a lot of the OTAs dealing with the remnants of off-season surgery. So, you know, they didn't want to rush him back. He was still healing from the off-season procedure that he had. And that allowed Khaleke Hudson to get reps. And Ron and company were really, really singing the praises of Khaleke Hudson. So I know Jamin was chomping at the bit to get back, and he was back for the first day of camp. So that's great news. He was happy to be back out there. And, you know, the reporters, they really, really petty, you know. They're funny. I mean, that's their job, is to ask some questions, sometimes the tough ones, but they're also petty on the low. And somebody asked him, well, what do you think about Jamin Davis and how he's been, Khaleke Hudson and how he's like, bro, Khaleke's trying to take my job. Yeah, Khaleke's doing fine, man. He's playing well. All the linebackers playing fine. You know that. Hey, don't ask me about the man that's trying to take my job. Get out of my face. Yeah, we teammates, but I'm worried about me. You know, remember last year when when the media asked Andrew Norwell about Carson Wentz, like the first 3 questions of his presser were about Carson Wentz. And then the next question was about B-Rob blocking for him. And he snapped and he was like, look, man, I don't want to answer any more questions about anybody else. I'm here to talk about me. If you don't got no more questions about me, then I don't got nothing else to say. And it got real quiet. And then I think one person asked a stupid ass question about him. And he answered it with like 1 or 2 words. And then the press conference was over. Hey, that will go down in history as one of my favorite pressers, right? But sometimes you like, why are you asking about somebody else? Why are you asking Jamin Davis about the guy that's trying to take his job? Anyway, I digress. So Jamin was talking about being happy to be back and being way more comfortable in the defense and feeling like they can fly around. And that leads me to the last person we heard from today, and that was Defo, Derek Forrest, who, if you remember, last year, this time was just coming into his own. We still didn't know what we were about to get in sophomore year of Derek Forrest. Remember, he was the camp darling last year. OTAs, offseason, he was the guy making all the plays that we heard about, second year leap, and boy, did we see it on the field. It happened week 1, right out of the gates. Big pass breakup in the back of the end zone, pick to seal the game, forced a fumble of Travis Etienne that forced the field goal back like 7-8 yards, and then the kicker missed from like 30-something yards out. But that fumble forced it back 7 yards. If it was 7 yards closer, he would have made it. So Defo is huge in week 1 last year against Jacksonville. So he's like, man, I am so much more comfortable in the scheme, what they're asking me to do. I come in as the starter this year. Me and Cam Curl, we feel like we can go out here and make plays and just move around and just use our athletic ability to be playmakers. And so he just sounds so much more comfortable, this Derek Forrest. And I think that this defense has a chance to really be impactful. And I made the statement, and I'm not shying away from it. I've doubled down on it already, but I made the statement about the defense needing to take that next step. And a lot of people were like, oh, man, the offense needs to be better. I'm not doubting that. I'm not disputing that. We've talked about that. The offense can't be much worse than it was the last 2 years in particular. But you know what can be better? The defense can be even better than it was. They didn't create any turnovers last year. Speaking of which, there were about 4 turnovers created today. None of them by any, notable players other than Sip. Christian Holmes had a pick, but even him getting it and all the different names that I saw of players getting turnovers lets me know that these were turnovers created with second and third string quarterbacks out there. These weren't Sam Howell, interceptions being thrown, at least not to my recollection. And, when you're seeing some of these names, you're like, ain't no way Sam's out there throwing against this dude. So and my guess is a lot of these turnovers and picks were probably thrown by your boy, Jake Fromm, if I had to guess. Probably one in there by Jacoby Brissett. But there were 4 picks, I think. 3 of them I'm going to put on Jake Fromm's plate. He stinks. Anyway, I digress. That's pretty much it. That's day 1, right? Not much going on in the form of, live bullets yet. Ron said he was really pleased with the way the defense got after the receivers today. So I do need to say this. Day 1 was won by the defense. If you didn't get the message already with Ron saying the defense picked right up where they left off last year. You didn't catch that? Let me spell it out for you. The defense won the day. They're supposed to, okay? And I expect the defense to win more days than that of the offense this training camp because they should be light years ahead of this offense. You're implementing a brand new scheme. You're getting everybody acclimated. You've got moving parts, new quarterback, new offensive coordinator. You got a couple of different pieces on the offensive line. There should be a little bit of a growing, learning curve and some growing pains with the offense. And the defense should be right in there, comfortable, flying around. It's year 4 of Jack's scheme with most of the players outside of your 2 rookies, first and second round pick, Quan Martin and Emmanuel Forbes. Outside of those 2 guys, the other 9 guys on defense are probably players that were here last year playing. and have been in this defense for multiple years. You know, Cam Curl, Defoe, Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St. Juice, Jamin Davis, the linebacker that they got, Cody Barton, is another one that's new. But those are the three guys that defensively, if they're in, they're new. Everybody else been here, done that. So I expect the defense to be flying around, and they were in day number one. So that's day number one in a nutshell. No pads yet. You'll know when the pads come on. There will be mention of that, and that's when shit gets real for me. But anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section and see if you guys have anything to say. So I have a super chat here from Virginia Slim. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, "What's this weird feeling? Is it optimism?" Maybe it's a little bit of optimism. Yeah, that's what happens when your team, the fans, the staff, and the front office all kind of feel the energy from a black cloud being lifted from over your head for the last 2 decades plus, and it's replaced with sunshine, right? That's what happens. People get excited and happy, and they're optimistic. So yeah, that's what that weird feeling you feel. It is optimism. Bask in it. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Big Money Sonny, writes, "Does my Wild Goose jersey still hold value, Lou?" Absolutely not. Now, I think he's still around, so don't give up on him yet, but I think he's a long shot to make the roster, and I think the Goose will not be loose in Washington, at least not to start the season. Who knows? He could be on the practice squad. A couple of things happen here or there, and boom. The Goose is loose once again in our secondary. But for now, not looking too good, man. Not looking too good. Big Money Sonny. Video channel, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Video channel, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, "Lou, video channel, who's your dark horse to make the 53? I'm going to say they keep a fullback. Now, I want to see the offense. I want to see if the fullback is a huge part of what they decide to do. I know in Kansas City, Andy Reid is a huge proponent of a fullback. I know Eric Bieniemy, being a running back himself, has a soft spot for the fullback. So I think there's a chance that a fullback could make the football team. Now, again, where do you trim off fat? I had this conversation with y'all yesterday. Could you go 3 tight ends and a fullback? Could you go 3 running backs and a fullback instead of 4 running backs instead of 4 tight ends? I think that's, if you're going to trim it from somewhere, that's probably where you would trim it from, right? But we'll see. That's my guess. Another area that you can trim it from that you didn't have the option to do last year was quarterback. Last year, you carried 3 quarterbacks. You had no choice but to carry 3 quarterbacks. You had Wentz, you had Heineke, and you had Sam Howell because you couldn't cut Howell, right? This year, you only have to carry 2, and you're only going to carry 2, Howell and Jacoby Brissett. So that's another roster spot that's freed up that wasn't available to you last year. So there'll be some decisions to be made, but I think a fullback. Now, I think there are 2 or 3 of them right now on the roster. Let me check and see how many fullbacks we have currently on the roster right now. If any. I say that, and I don't actually see any fullbacks. Let me check the running backs and see if they just have them listed as running backs. So, yeah, they have Alex Arma listed as a running back, but he's a fullback. So I could see Alex Arma making the football team. But I could also see them just keeping 4 tight ends and using one of those tight ends in an H-back type role as a pseudo fullback. So we'll see. It's hard for me to say who is or isn't going to do what, right now, because we haven't gotten into camp yet, And so when I say gotten into camp, put on the pads. We haven't put on the pads yet. We haven't seen these guys performing. And Ron said this last couple of years ago, and I believe him. It's easy to go out and play loose and free when there are no consequences. You can go attack the football and be aggressive. What happens when it happens in a game where everybody can see it, where it's on tape, and that mistake is amplified because you just gave up a 67-yard touchdown on a double move because you decided to be over aggressive. In practice, you give up that 67-yarder, it is what it is. You got, we move on to the next snap. In the game, now it's a problem. So are you going to be as aggressive? We're going to find out. I'm going to say right now, Alex Arma makes the football team. That's my wild horse, or dark horse, rather. My wild card, if you will. Alex Arma sneaks his way onto the roster, but we'll see, because we'll find out real quick. If we see nothing with the fullback throughout preseason, hard to imagine the fullback making the football team. So, Big Money Sonny, my guy, Big Money Sonny. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Writes, Lou, Sonny says, I'm hyped as usual, but what's the over-under in games when I start complaining this year? That being said, Sam Howell is the new top 5 dead or alive. Let's get it, Lou. Let's effing go. All right, so you start complaining after week 2. You start complaining after week 2 because I don't think the Denver game is going to go very well for us. So week 1, we should take care of business against Arizona, but you know how we do, so that could easily turn into a struggle that, as long as we win, I don't give a shit, but I really want to blow Arizona out week 1. I want to make a statement, but I could see us struggling in week 1, but winning, going to Denver, not playing all that well. Broncos get us, and I can see you bitching and complaining after week 2. But it's going to get better. I expect the offense to start the season off slow. So personally, there are going to be kinks that have to be worked out. And so I expect some mistakes. I expect some growth. Again, this is what you get with a young quarterback. But he'll hit his stride, and they'll gain confidence, and they'll get that thing going. Like what we've seen from Rivera coach teams is they start off slow. I'm hoping that they buck that trend this year. He can't afford another slow start. We've already established that. Because if you start faster and you still get one of those 3-4 game win streaks that we've seen this team go on and know them to be capable of under Ron. They've done it every single year that Ron's been here at some point, whether it's a 3 or 4 game heater. Hell, last year they didn't get 4 in a row, which they had done the 2 years previous, but they did win 7 out of 8? That's better than 4 in a row. 7 out of 8. After starting 1-5 or 1-4, we won 6 out of 7. Excuse me, not 7 out of 8. We were 1-4 and we won 6 out of our next 7. That's better than 4 in a row. Give me 6 out of 7 any day of the week. Just don't start 1-4. Just if you start the season off 3-2 and you win 6 out of 7, you're 9-3. Like, think about that. Think about the difference from 7-5 to 9-3. It's just 2 games. Beat the Titans and beat Detroit. 2 winnable football games. And instead of being, or hell, even Dallas. All right, that was a very winnable game. Maybe not Detroit because they jumped us like 22-0. We were in that Cowboys game. Win that game. Beat Tennessee. You should have beaten the Titans. I'll say you're complaining after week 2. Let's get it, though. You know what it is. Quentin Ruiz, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Quentin, writes, do you see us re-signing Gibby? Yes, I do. Now, let me say this. It all depends on how he plays this season. Everything that, and you know what's funny, I didn't mention this. I'm glad you brought it up. Gibby talked about it today in his presser. He was asked about, this being a contract year, all of the gripes of the running backs out there, and what does he think about all of that? And he was like, look, I think all those guys are talented. And they asked him, was he on that call, which he wasn't. I've giving you the names of all the players that were involved in the call. And Antonio Gibson didn't belong on that call. Neither did J.K. Dobbins, but I digress. At the end of the day, Antonio Gibson is in a position now where if he balls in his final year, in this new role that they have for him, and they establish what he is as a football, because we still really don't know what he is as a football player. Like, he knows what he's capable of, but they haven't figured out what is the best usage of Antonio Gibson yet. So until that happens, we're going to kind of be stuck in this limbo with him. And honestly speaking, if we're going to keep it a buck with each other, we haven't seen Antonio Gibson be better than he was in his rookie season. He had 11 rushing touchdowns. He had another 2 or 3 receiving touchdowns. He was dynamic in that rookie season. We haven't seen him be that dynamic since then. All you have is the screen against Buffalo and a couple of plays here or there. But in that rookie season, there were explosives all over the place. The Baltimore Ravens wide receiver screen he caught. The Dallas Jet sweep where he murked on them. There are a lot of explosive plays in that rookie season that showed you what this kid could be. And you just really haven't seen it. So they need to figure him out. If they can do that and he has a very productive year, yeah, he'll be back. Because it won't cost you a whole hell of a lot. If he doesn't, then they'll probably move on and draft another guy. And again, a lot of him being back is going to be predicated on the next staff. If Ron and company win and they're back, so is Antonio Gibson, because he'll be a huge part of us winning. And they drafted him. If Ron and company get canned and a new GM comes in and a new coach comes in, Antonio Gibson is gone. And a lot of the guys that we have come to know and love, that we have, embraced, they'll be gone too. If they're on their last year of their deal, they could be gone. Like Cam Curl, they don't get a deal done with him, and he has a so-so year, and Ron and company aren't here next year. You may love Cam Curl. Next staff doesn't love Cam Curl, and he's gone. That could happen. Understand that. A lot of y'all want Ron and company going. Changes will ensue if they're not here, is what I've been trying to communicate to you guys. And I'm not saying that those guys should be here. When I say those guys, Ron and his staff, Martin Mayhew, Marty Herney and company, should be here long term. But understand, if you want them gone, there are going to be changes that come with them being gone that you probably don't necessarily want, but you need to start wrapping your brain around. If you want Ron gone, understand that Cam Curl can be gone, Antonio Gibson can be gone, and a slew of other guys that aren't under contract for next year who they have, Curtis Samuel could be gone. There's a lot of guys that may not be back next year. Now, you may not give a shit, but just understand that there are consequences that come with a new staff. Changes and turnover will ensue. So we'll see what happens. Quentin Ruiz, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, Quentin, writes, would you feel comfortable picking this D in fantasy? Oh, man, that's tough. I can't even tell you that I got to see him in preseason first. How many years did we see the defense in preseason and say, oh, my God, this defense is flying around, only to get to the regular season and they get their asses picked apart? So, you know what? Yeah, I would pick this defense, in fact, because I think they're going to create, like, the emphasis has been put on creating turnovers, so much so that I think they're going to go out of their way to try and create turnovers this year, and I think they're going to get it done. So, yes, year 4 of Jack in this system, I think, finally gets over the hump. They finally start creating some turnovers. I'll tell you this, the level of competition is much greater, and I could see them falling flat on their face as well. Be careful, but I think they're going to create turnovers. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, my lady is fully prepared this season to have you on all the TVs in the crib. Yeah, you tried to get me in some trouble last year, man. I didn't appreciate that. But at least you warned her this year, so mentally she could prepare herself for what's to come. I appreciate the love as always. And tell your old lady I said, hey, I don't want any trouble. I don't want no smoke. Hey. We appreciate you, brother. I expect nothing but excitement all season, as do I. the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, the peaks, the valleys. We'll cover it all here as we always do. I expect more peaks than valleys. I expect more highs than lows. I expect more ups than downs. But whatever happens, I'm going to be around. Okay. So I look forward to this being a fun season for sure. Mama Commander got them yams. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, next press conference, peep Jamin licking his lips after every reply. He too cool for school. And this O-line, the only thing that scares me. No, I don't have to peep the next press conference. I know Jamin Davis licks his lips after every statement. I mean, it could just be as simple as his lips always dry as hell, and that's his way to lubricate them. I don't know, but he does do that. He's not LL Cool J, clearly, but that's his thing, man. He's a lick lipper. I'm not mad at him for that. I ain't glad at him, but I ain't mad at him. To each his own. I know my shit get dry, and you'll catch me licking my shits. I'm not a big proponent of chapstick, so if you're not going to use chapstick, you better use some kind of lubrication. Mine is my saliva. So I get it. You'll catch me doing that more often in the wintertime when it gets a lot colder outside. The air is a little bit colder. I tend to get chapped lips then. So you'll see me licking my lips a lot more in November than you will in August because I'm drinking plenty of water, so I'm hydrated. But he might just be one of these dudes, lips stay chapped, and he's got to lick his shits all the time. I don't know. But yes, I'm fully aware of that. The O-line, and let me just put a big pause around that. We were just talking about another man's lips for like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Pause. All right. Anyway, this O-line is the only thing that scares me. It doesn't scare me as much as I'm just taking a wait and see approach. I just want to see it come together. All right. But at the end of the day, I think this offensive line is going to be just fine. I'm not worried about this offensive line. I think they'll be just fine. But left guard definitely doesn't instill confidence in me. I want to see what Nick Gates looks like, even though I'm pretty confident in his abilities. And I want to see Sam Cosmi not only stay healthy, but lock down the right guard position. Andrew Wiley, I know what he is. He's a carbon copy of Charles Leno Jr. on the opposite side. So for all of you who think we fixed this offensive line, we've gotten better because you can't get much worse than the product that we put out on the field last year. But Andrew Wiley he's okay. He's not great. And he's going to get his fair share of ass whoopings on that right side. So Sam's legs are going to have to be, in tip-top shape. And he's going to have to be, and this is why I'm excited, because unlike Taylor and some of the other guys who didn't want to run, Carson Wentz included, Sam will take off on your ass. And with this offense, a lot of quick passes. You don't have to protect for as long. Get the ball out of your hands. The RPO also freezes the defense, right? Can't get off the ball if you don't know if it's a run or a pass. So there'll be ways to help this offensive line. I'm not as worried as some of you are. I'll just say that. Thank you for the super chat. Mama Commander got them yams. That's a hell of a name, if I may say so myself. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Video channel. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Writes, Ron got until week 13 bye to save his job. If Mans is sitting at 4-9, maybe 5-8, he's off to Cancun. I think that's accurate. Now, 4-9, definitely. 5-8, there's still time if the rest of the NFC is tripping, right? Because at 5-8, you due for a 4-game heater to finish up. Because you haven't had a 4-game heater if you're 5-8. Okay, unless you started off the season like we did last year, 1-4, you get your 4-game heater, and you win 4 out of 5 or whatever, but you're still sitting there at 5-8 by the time you get to the bye. If you haven't had your 4-game heater and you get it at the end of the season and you finish 9-8, and that's good enough to get you in the playoffs, hold the phones. All right, pump your brakes. Ron's not dead yet. But to your point, if you're playing like that in this pivotal season for Ron, you're probably getting fired. It is off to Cancun more likely than not. I agree with you. So, yeah, it's to me, the key for Ron is getting off to a much faster start this year. That's the key. He's shown that his teams will finish seasons strong. Even if they don't make it to the finish line, there's going to be a point in the midpoint of the season where you look up and you say, hey, look out for the Commanders. It's been that way all 3 years. Even the year we were 7-9. Get towards the end of the season, we've won 4 in a row. We got from 2-6 to or 2-7 rather to 6-7. And teams are looking like, hey, we beat Steelers. We dominated the 49ers on defense. We destroyed the Cowboys and dismantled them on Thanksgiving for everybody to see. Hey, look out for the Commanders. We were the football team then. Look out for the football team. So, again, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. But he's got to start faster, period. You're right. You get to week 13 and he's sitting there. It's not good. It's not a good look for him. It's not. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Red Wings writes, only one day in, and it already feels like Sam's gotten more praise than anyone we got in the last 3 years. Definitely recency bias, but this feels different. Well, again, Sam, first of all, Sam's not a veteran retread. He's a guy you can get behind. I feel like when you look back at the quarterbacks that we've trotted out here, whether it be Heineke, Alex Smith, Ryan Fitzpatrick, whomever, right? Carson Wentz, there's already been enough out there on these guys that you knew what the story was. The narrative was out there. It was their job to change the narrative. But as far as we were concerned, we went the veteran retread route enough times to know that it's probably not going to work here. And there was always Scott Turner, kind of looming over the offense as well. There's no Scott Turner. It's Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell. There's a lot of people, not just in Washington. There are pundits like Daniel Jeremiah, like Dan Orlovsky, who think that Sam Howell's going to be really good. Like, they didn't just forget that Sam Howell was kicking ass at North Carolina. So I think there is real optimism that Sam Howell can not only come in and play well, but really solidify the quarterback position here in Washington. Does feel a little different. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. JP writes, Lou, how's it going, brother? It's going well, JP. How about you and yours? Says a couple things. First, do you want Chase back if he balls out? I'm still low-key rooting for him. Yeah, look, I don't have anything against Chase. I didn't love how Chase handled the line of questions towards the tail end of the season when he still wasn't back yet and everybody expected him back. But I don't have anything against Chase. If Chase goes out and gets 13 and a half sacks, damn right I want him back. You damn right I want him back. Ain't shit changed. I still love Chase Young, and I'm rooting for him. I'm not low-key rooting for him. I'm rooting for him. To hell with that. I'm not ashamed. Ain't no low-key over here. I'm rooting for him. I hope he goes out and tears shit up. I want him to vindicate the second overall pick that we spent on him. I really do. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, Ron getting off to a fast start. That's like saying my shit don't stink. Doubt it, Lou. Yeah. I mean, I get it. I can't even justify. I can't defend. Ron has gotten off to poor starts each of the last 3 years. So as much as I want to defend Ron, 2-7 in 20, 2-6 in 21, and 1-4 in 2022. I can't deny the facts. They're there. But he was the manager then. He wasn't the head coach. He was dealing with a lot. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll be giving him the benefit. I'm giving Ron the benefit that this year, when he's allowed to just be the head coach and just worry about football, he'll have this team ready. And he doesn't have a veteran retread quarterback this time around. He's got a young man with young legs that's not afraid to use them, with a live arm and weapons galore at the receiver position, a really good running back position, and an offensive line that most people aren't sure about, don't believe in. However, if they're solid, and the biggest thing, and I think we got more athletic up front, the biggest thing that I had an issue with the offensive line last year in particular is they were old. We were old and we were decrepit last year. Okay. During the reign of terror, what it has done for me is sometimes you forget things because out of sight, out of mind, it happened in the past. You've moved on. But doing that series has forced me to recollect things in my head that I had forgotten. And one of the things I forgot was that the offensive lines that we would put on the field, especially with Trent Williams, any offensive line featuring Trent Williams and Brandon Sheriff is an athletic group. But then you think about some of the other guys like Corey Lichtensteiger and Spencer Long and some of these guys that they were able to fill in the gaps with, Sean Laval. These guys could run and they could move, right? Even going back even further, with some of the guys from the Jets like Pete Kendall and Randy Thomas, we had offensive linemen that were athletic, that could move, and that really impacted the screen game. Screen game is going to be huge this year, and Cosme's an athlete. Nick Gates is an athlete. He can move. All right. We're not dealing with these old, decrepit, geriatric offensive linemen who can't run, who can't get out in front of a screen. All right. Like we were last year with Trey Turner and Andrew Norwell. Like, I like the fact that Wiley can move. He's a good athlete. Gates can move. Cosme can move. And if Sadiq Charles wins that job, he can move. Chris Paul, not the greatest athlete. Sadiq Charles can move. I think this offensive line is going to sneak up on some people. I really do. I really, truly do. It's not going to be great, but I think it's going to be great for what we're going to ask it to do. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. John Perez, double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, also, did you see Brunson rain on our parade on Twitter, picking us to win 5 games? All I could do was laugh. Those Dirty Bird fans, man. LOL. Yeah, I saw it. How could I not? He added me. How could I not see it? Okay. No, I'm not tripping. You know what he thinks of Sam Howell already. He said he's gonna be in the USFL or the he'll be out of the league, is what he said, in 2 years. He'll be in the XFL in 2 years. He said something to that effect. So he don't know what's really good over here. He'll be the first in the division in 2023 to find out, though. Law already knows because he got blessed at the end of 2022. But he'll be the first in 23 to find out. We got the Eagles in their building week 3. So he'll find out very quickly what Sam and his offense can be all about. So he'll be singing a totally different tune come season's end. But don't tell him nothing. He's going to have to find out the hard way. And that's the best way when somebody want to be hard-headed. Those who don't hear, a wise woman once told me, those who don't hear, feel. Don't tell them nothing else. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, Lou, Meta, camp is here. Camp is here. Camp is here. Camp is here. Games are near. Bart Scott can't wait. You already know what it is. I can't wait. I can't wait till they put the pads on, let alone preseason games. What, next week we get Hall of Fame, right? Next week we get Hall of Fame, and that first Sunday or Thursday in August, Hall of Fame game. And then once that hits, we got football from that point on for the next 6 months. Guaranteed. How could you not be in love with this time of the year? It's great. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Red Wings 01 writes, I love how dismissive people are being of us. Makes every dub more cathartic. I got a couple of games circled on my calendar because I need some guys to shut up. I got games circled on the calendar every year. I used to call them COTSI games. Circle on the calendar games. COTSI. I got those every single year. You know, whether it's revenge games from past games that didn't go our way that I'm still salty about. Fans of other, teams of other fans of other teams talking shit. You talking shit, bitch. That you trying to shut up, or you just flat out don't like a team. Like I got a big axe to grind with the Giants this year because Bad Dog. The last time I talked to Bad Dog, he was throwing subtle jabs. Like he hit me in the ribs a couple of times. I'm like, Bad Dog, how could you? You used to be in the basement. We used to be best of friends. He was like, bro, we not equals no more. And just for the record, you talk to me nice. The Eagles could talk to me with utmost disrespect. The Cowboys can disrespect me. You talk to me nice. We own you. Daniel Jones owns you. Now I'm disrespected. Now I feel some type of way. I'm hot and bothered. So I got the Giants. Now, the Eagles, I ain't worried about them. We went in their house. We embarrassed them last year on national television when they were undefeated, and I got more in store for them. But you know who I'm looking at this year with the utmost disrespect? The Giants. And I don't usually hold contempt for the Giants because they're the Giants. They're nice. They're lovable. They're losers. So it's okay. Nah, F that. I want to bust their damn head open to the white meat show this year. So yeah, I got teams. I got the calendar circled on this year. The Giants, both of them games. I want both of them. Not one. I want both of them. And I want Daniel Jones to be healthy for both of them. We earned all of the disrespect. I told you that. All of the disrespect being lobbed at us. 5-12, 4-13, 3-14. We earned all of that. And Sam being a starting quarterback makes it much easier for people to just dogpile on us. Oh yeah, they stink. And they got Sam Howell or Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. I told you, I seen some articles disrespecting us with Jacoby Brissett as our starter week 1. Like, seriously? It's going to be so refreshing. And trust me, I got a full clip. One of the best yet. All right? Full clip. Do you want to mess with this? Sam Howell, one of the best yet. I got some shit in the clip. Full clip. Don't let Sam get off. It's going to be a year of hell to pay. I always ask the Lord to keep me humble. Because I don't know how to act sometimes. My wife said, bro, you got to chill. You can't go to people's houses slamming down dominoes. You don't know them. You can't go to people's houses slamming down spades, talking shit. You don't know them like that. How many first 48 episodes we done seen card games going awry and somebody died over some damn cards? I like, you right. I pray that God shows me the way to be humble, because if Sam is cold-blooded this season, I got a lot of revenge. And revenge is a dish best served ice cold. And I'm telling you, if he's cold-blooded, it's going to get ugly. It's going to be Bubba Sparks ugly. It's going to get ugly. On socials, on YouTube, people that didn't even know that I was listening, catching, these ain't strays. I'm coming red dot on your forehead. So it's going to get ugly. I just pray that over time, God humbles me and I'm like, bro, I ain't even going to kill him like that. I don't have a humble bone in my body right now. Let that shit pop off. Oh, it's on. God, I'm asking you, I'm begging you, please help me. Help me. Will Van Dink, Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Will writes, Lou, Will, thoughts on Howell turning down Netflix? He didn't turn down Netflix. I talked about that. He was asked, would he do it if he was approached? He has not been approached, and he won't be. They're not going to ask a second-year quarterback who was a fifth-round pick to be on this show. All right. If Sam establishes himself 3 years from now, yeah, he might be on the show. They asked Justin Fields, but they didn't ask Sam. B-Hat, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. B-Hat writes, what do you think about these Chase Young trade rumors with the Steelers and Ravens showing interest in trading for him? Look, there's been interest in Chase Young the entire offseason. It's the same teams we've been hearing. Steelers, Ravens, the Colts. It's the same teams we've been hearing all offseason. Ain't shit changed. They were interested then. They're still interested now. And there's probably even more interest because he's now fully healthy, right? In the offseason, you could still say, don't know if he's healthy and try to move him. We're not trading him. So all of that stuff is irrelevant, okay? They're not trading Chase Young because they spent the number 2 overall pick on Chase Young, and they know what he's fully capable of. And I've already reiterated this to you, and I can't tell you how many times do I have to say the same thing over and over again. Chase Young is of more value to Ron Rivera on this team, getting after the opposing team's quarterback and shutting down the run than he is on somebody else's team and picking up draft picks that he may not be here to spend. Okay? What makes more sense? Trading him away, picking up assets that may not help you save your job to even be here to spend the asset, or keep him here, let him go out, wreak havoc, and even if you don't keep him, he helped you save your job. He's not being traded, at least not until the trade deadline. If we suck, then they may make something happen. But as of right now, Chase Young not going anywhere. So not really tripping. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, John Perez, writes, your Reign of Terror series should honestly get an Emmy. I can tell you this, it's critically acclaimed. I haven't had a critically acclaimed show in a while. It's been a while since I've put out one of those. So it feels good. Feels good. Can't wait for the 2019 episode. We're almost there. 18 will be out as soon as this show is over. 18 is done, packaged up, and ready for mass consumption. So I'll put that out when we're done here. That year where you made that Gangs All Back video was hopeless. There was so much despair in 19. So much despair in 2019. I got a lot to say about 19, so don't worry. That's gonna be probably another long episode. I'm gonna try to keep it short because it sucked so bad. I really don't want to talk about 19, but it was so comical at the same time that I've got a lot to say about 19. So Eddie Behringer, my guy Eddie B. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Eddie B writes, hey Lou, I don't think a faster start is out of the question. We have to add in the EB factor. Why not us? Absolutely, why not us? And I think we can get off to a fast start. We've gone through the schedule. We're going to go through it again. I want to go through it again with you guys before I approach the Super Friends and we go through it. I want to be so resolute in my thought process, understanding the schedule in and out, because when it first was released, I had committed it to memory. I haven't looked at it since. Okay. So I need to go back. And so just know that we're going to go over the schedule here with a fine tooth comb one final time before I release my predictions for the season. And I just know that there's a stretch like weeks 4 through 7, something like that. We have the Eagles in week 3. And then I think after that, there's a stretch of games like the Falcons and the Giants and the Bears. And then there's, I think it's one more game in there where you're like, bro, we have to win some of like 3 out of 4 of these games or all 4 of these games. I do know there's a stretch in there. We can get off to a fast start if we take advantage of some opportunities that are presented to us. I'll just say that. It's going to be tough early. You got the Bills. It's at home, and I think we can win that game. But it's not going to be easy. But we got the Bills. The Broncos on the road scares me. And then you got the Eagles on the road. And so we got to figure out a way to navigate the first 4 games of the season and come out of that stretch 2-2. Preferably, I'd like to win weeks 1 and 4. If I had to pick 2 games, give me the NFC games, right? Give me the NFC game against the Cardinals and give me the NFC East game against the Eagles. You can have the 2 AFC games. Knock yourself out. Take the Broncos game, take the Bills game. No skin off my back. Give me the 2 NFC games if we got to start 2-2. But I'm trying to be greedy. Why not 3-1? Why not 3-1? So why not 4-0? Hell, why not us? Right? Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, someone tell Ron to stop looking so happy. It's weird. No, this is the byproduct of being free. It's not just us as fans who have had the shackles taken off of them. Ron was probably the most handcuffed person in all of this. Now, he hasn't dealt with it for as long as we have, so he doesn't receive the same kind of, remorse. But we've dealt with it. So has Ron these last 3 years. So, listening to Ron today, Ron's like, bro, you damn right. It feels good to just worry about football. Yeah, this shit is amazing. Yeah, Ron is in a different place right now. He's loving it. He's loving life. I can't blame him. Because Ron's no dummy. A lot of y'all equate Ron with stupidity for some reason. Ron's a smart ass dude. He went to Cal Berkeley. He's a smart guy. He's no dummy. Ron knows what's at stake this year. He knows. So Ron, while he is portraying this outward, perception of, man, I'm calm, cool. Inside, Ron is like, yo, we better get this shit right. He will fire my ass. But you know what? Even before Dan was gone, Ron said something that let me know he was at peace. And you know what? When you're at peace with a situation, you're dangerous. I swear the best runs come when you don't see them coming. When I look for the 4-game winning streak, shit doesn't come. It's when you least expect it. Were you expecting a 4-game winning streak when we were 2-7 in 2020? Hell no. Hell no, you weren't looking for a 4-game win streak. Were you looking for one when we were 2-6, limping into the bye after losing to Teddy Bridgewater and the Denver Broncos? Coming off of a bye, defending Super Bowl champions waiting for you at the crib in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Were you looking for a 4-game heater then? Hell no. We were looking for that shit last year. Did we get it? No, we did not. You know why? Because we were waiting on it. Hey, where that 4-game winning streak at, Ron? We know that shit coming. Where that shit at? Ron, where that 4-game heater at? He was like, I got 3 for you. Nah, Ron, it's supposed to be 4. Where that 4? So you lose to the Vikings, and then you beat Philadelphia. You beat the Texans, and you beat the dang on Falcons. You're like, Ron, here come that 4-game heater. Where that shit at? And then you lose. And they lose again. And then you tie, and then you lose, and then you lose again. And then you lose again. All because we was looking for the shit. You just got to let it happen. So I think Ron is just like, bro, when he said last year, I'm going to leave this situation in a better spot than I found it. He's right. He's at peace with whatever happens. I gave it a run. I did my best. But they're in a much better situation than when I got here. That mindset means he's free in his way of thinking. He understands that there's pressure on him. And trust me, he feels that pressure, but he's okay. I'm going to just go out here, do the best that I can, and I'll live with the results. Versus a guy that's pressing, that you can see is trying to press every right button. Like Matt Nagy, his last year in Chicago, you could see a dude feeling the pressure of knowing him and the GM were about to get fired. You could see it. You could feel that pressure. He was trying to press every right button, and it ended up being every wrong button. He didn't let the shit happen. It was just like Jay Gruden, even though Gruden had no say-so. I felt really bad for Jay, which we'll talk about in 2019. Jay was handcuffed. He was a dead man walking. But Ron is the polar opposite of Jay on the way out. Jay was, you could feel the pressure. Jay knew he was getting fired. Ron's like, ain't no guarantee I'm going to be back, but it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I'm going to let the shit all hang out this year. Whatever bullets I got left in the gun, I'm emptying the clip. And if it's enough to keep my job, I'll go re-up on some ammo. But I won't leave. Like last year, there was times when we would leave games with timeouts. You're like, bro, you know these shits don't carry over, right? Nah, Ron about to empty the clip this year. So he's smiling because he's like, I just get to coach football, which is what I wanted to do all along. Ash, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ash writes, other than you, of course, Lou, which talking heads do you trust with Commander outlook? I mean, I trust all of them for the most part. Everybody's got a unique perspective. Everybody has their way of seeing things and how they kind of take everything in. Everyone's fandom is different in terms of how long they've been a fan of the team. Like with Ed, he'll pick on certain players, that may piss him off and he can't wait till they're gone off the roster. Like, that's not my thing. That's his thing. And that may appeal to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's got a different perspective. Rico is super analytic. He's younger, right? Super analytic. So he gets into the gritty details of, some fantasy football type shit almost, borderline fantasy football. But that shit matters for some people, right? He gets into the PFF type stuff. He's on social media, so he sees all of this shit that's going on social. So that's a good dude to listen to, and he's super smart, right? He gets it. And then Rio is just super raw, right? Like, in your face, F-bomb this, N-word that. Like, he don't unapologetic. You gotta love it, right? And I love Rio because he can do all of that, but super intelligent. He can flip the switch, right? And cold switch on your ass real quick if he needs to. And so it's everybody has a different perspective, but hey, like I said, everybody that covers the team for the most part, they get it, man. My guy Tim does a great job, full of opinions, protect sports, is super smart. I'm telling you, like, he's all, and it's not just Washington, he's all over the league, right? So everybody doing this shit, they're talented, man. Everybody that's out here knocking it out of the park. And so I say you check for everybody, man. Check for everybody. Get as much of it as you can. And get on board now, Get on board now because this shit's about to take off. It's just about to take off. And it's a lot more people that I didn't name, but shit's about to take off. Anyway, I digress. I think that's the last comment that I have. Super chat rather. And so I'm gonna let y'all get out of here. I wasn't looking to talk your head off. Day 1 of camp in the books. Everyone's excited. All smiles today. All smiles. That's gonna change, obviously. As camp wears on, it gets hotter, and it's gonna get hotter. And the pads go on and they start hitting each other. Yeah, shit's gonna go sideways a little bit, but that's all good. That's a part of the process. I'm looking forward to seeing this team this year, and I am really, really excited about 2023 in particular. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Command Post. You know what it is. Post up, take command. Newest upload of Reign of Terror coming at you shortly after this video is done. And I look forward to chopping it up with you guys tomorrow as we get into camp day number 2. Fans will be allowed in the stands tomorrow. I expect practice to be live tomorrow and hot tomorrow. So should be fun. See who we hear from tomorrow. New cast of characters. Probably hear from Ron again and a bunch of different players. Looking forward to that. And you'll hear from me as well. So until then, you guys have a good one. Take care. God bless. And good night.
The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
LouieTeeNetwork.